This is an Irish independent podcast.
Hey everyone, good news. Dream team is assembled. That means you, Conan.
Oh, yes.
And of course, back from Munich last week, Ronan Mullen, hello.
Hi, Joe.
How was Munich?
It was great. Yeah, it's a kind of postcard image of Christmas, if you know what I mean. Like, it's kind of what you're thinking of when you're younger. Oh, this is what Christmas is like. And then you walk around Dundalk and it's like, doesn't look anything like Christmas. Whereas you go to Munich and it's just Christmas markets every corner, you know, that kind of vibe. So it's nice.
Notoriously good Christmas markets, don't they?
Very good. And then, you know, it's snowing fairly regularly, which is kind of, you know, nice for the mood. And then we went to Salzburg, actually, which is just the neighbouring part. It's covered on the Deutschbahn, which is the German train. It's a bit interesting. Technically, it's an international journey.
Mozart from Salzburg?
Yeah. Went to his residence.
How is it?
It's good. Like, it's funny. Like, his birthplace is very nearby as well. And there's way more going on there. We went to his residence where, in theory, all the pianos he would have played and all the stuff are, but they've kind of established that the bigger attraction is the birthplace, so they've moved a lot of the stuff there.
Okay.
But yeah, he started playing piano when he was 3.
Now he's prodigy.
Unbelievable. Yeah. But his sister was pegged to be the wunderkind like this. She's going to be unbelievable.
You should have seen the sister.
No. The dad,
the drink finder.
The dad thought, oh, I've got this is amazing, and then Wolfgang came along and blew everybody out of the water.
God, that's tough on the sister.
Yeah, she was like, oh.
Not even the best pianist in my own family table.
Yeah. So high achievers.
Ronan spends, by the way, if you're just getting to grips with our schedules, about a week out of the month in Munich.
Yeah, give or take. Yeah,
it's your better half. Nice to have you back in person.
Thanks a million.
Speaking of Christmas, we are going to do a Christmassy bits and bobs, which Conan has titled. And by the way, he came up with this in September.
Yeah. It was the first production meeting.
Can't emphasize that enough.
It's like, Ronan, nice to meet you, but I've got a good idea for
Christmassy bits and bobs.
We did a Christmas show?
Yes, it will be called Bits and Bobbles.
Wow.
I mean, it's if it works, it works. And intriguingly, and I don't know what you mean or what you're looking for exactly, Ronan has asked for Christmas emails in, that kind of broad heading to Indosport Podcast at independent.ie, which will somehow incorporate into Bits and Bobbles. Again, I've no great expectation of what you're looking for.
Full disclosure, like, we're getting to Christmas now and I'm just...
You've checked out.
I need someone to help me with the production of this.
You've checked out.
So we're coming in here on Christmas Eve and I need a little bit of a helping hand. So it's just, is it Christmas sports on Christmas? Like the St. Stephen's Day games? Is it, you know, sports related stuff you got from Santi?
Is it Boxing Day games if you're up north?
But sorry, what do you want them to say?
I don't know. It's Christmas themed emails, if that's not too much to ask at Christmas time.
Okay.
Just write ho 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 to start.
No gym emails. There's, as Conan said, there's a moratorium on the gym around Christmas, and we're not making anyone feel guilty.
Yeah.
Around this time.
Well, we've had a lot of gym emails in actually on foot of that email last week. We're not getting them to them today. Maybe on a quiet day. Okay, Christmas emails. For Christmas Eve, whatever the hell that means.
Well,
I look forward to apologising. None came in.
Let's put it this way. Yeah. What do people want us to talk about on Bits and Bobbles? That's the question I'm asking.
Okay, that I can live with. Nothing off the table.
Nothing's off the table. And they don't have to be Christmas themed. I will say though, because you know it's a Bits and Bobs bonanza, we're doing a sort of year in review type podcast. So we'll be doing that separately. So this is a more general catch-all.
I feel like the gym email though has tapped into something where it was an argument about what you can and can't do. Should there be something like that around Christmas, what you can and can't do?
I can.
Christmas.
Beggars can't be choosers here.
Or have we missed a trick because we got weeks of coverage out of our Not the Monday panel naming the show selections?
Ironically, we stopped doing a Not the Monday panel fairly shortly thereafter.
But should we have just put it out to the floor? What should we come in? Obviously not going to be bits and bobbles, but should we have just put it out there to see what people thought?
Let's not beat around the bush here. We came up with a great name for the segment and we're trying to reverse engineer a segment out of it. That's the way it is.
Okay.
So we're doing it because the name is so good and it's going to be 30 minutes of something.
Okay. Emails in for Bits and Bobbles, your Christmas Eve special, Indosport Podcast at independent.ie. Lots of emails in. Again, a shocking amount about gym etiquette, which we're not going to get to today. One person is furious that people walk in his swimming lane. Like this whole thing is it's blown up into all areas. Oh
It's
yeah,
expanded beyond the gym now.
to the like they walk in my swimming lane. But there's an email in from P. O'Brien. We'll come back to all that area. Who just wants to say, dear Joe and team, not in the habit of emailing feedback. Just wanted to say, Dermot Gilleese was wonderful, which he was, as both reflection on sport and self-reflection on the worlds of journalism and golf, on character and class. I started the interview expecting to give it 10 minutes, only to find myself disappointed more than an hour later when it was ending. Terrific stuff. And he adds in brackets, how many people acknowledge their own steps astray in life as openly and compellingly as Dermot did? Best, P. O'Brien. Agreed. He was great. John Green, actually, the Sunday Sport editor, just this morning said the same thing, that he started it and suddenly, whoom, flew by. So that's always a good sign. So Dermot Gilleese's book, A Farewell to the Fairways, is in bookshops now. Big thanks to him for coming in. So what else happened? There's kind of quite a few things going on. I would suspect the headline news is Mykhailo Mudryk of Chelsea. He has failed a drugs test, adverse finding in what was a routine urine test. And initially, I would say for the first few hours of the story, it was up in the air as to whether it was recreational or performance enhancing. But now it seems Meldonium is the offending substance. Mudryk took to his Instagram to say, this has come as a complete shock, as I've never knowingly used any banned substances or broken any rules. I'm working closely with my team to investigate how this could have happened. I know I've not done anything wrong and remain hopeful I'll be back on the pitch soon. Like Mudryk obviously is signed for Chelsea. Hot property when he signed the deal, worth up to €100 million, and just hasn't really delivered on the promise. I think it's fair to say 80 appearances, lots of them off the bench, 10 goals, very, very so. Like a touch better lately, but certainly not what they hoped he would be. Meldonium, if that sounds familiar, it should. This was, I guess, for want of a better description, the Maria Sharapova drug. This was back in 2016 when in January the World Anti-Doping Agency suddenly added Meldonium to the banned list, and ping, including Maria Sharapova, who had been taking Meldonium for the guts of a decade at that point. Very much an Eastern European drug. It's made in Latvia. Treats heart conditions, but from a sporting performance point of view, in effect, increases capacity to carry oxygen, which is very useful. So very famously, it was given to Soviet troops in Afghanistan in the 80s to help with endurance. The reason this was put on the WADA ban list in 16 is that at the European Games in 15, of the 762 athletes, 66 of them were taking Meldonium when it was legal, or certainly TUE legal. I'm not sure it was a TUE requirement or not, but you were allowed to take it. And so when 66 of 700 of the healthiest people on the planet were taking this heart medication, WADA said, well, that is excessive, and so it was put on the banned list. And Sharapova was done promptly in 16. And now Mudryk has fallen foul, so that is where we are.
Nobody's going to want to take it now if they find out that Mudryk's been taking it and this is the results.
Yeah.
Not working especially well.
Performance enhancing is, not a very descriptive term in this context.
Well, I suppose we don't know when he took it, how long he was taking it for. He's obviously saying it's complete shock. I've never knowingly used banned substances, so I suspect he'll be moving towards contamination as his defence. But again, strict liability will just mean it's big trouble for him. There's talk of obviously maximum of 4 years and then mitigation to kick in at a certain point. But I would think that is Mykhailo Mudryk certainly facing years away from the game. Hard to see otherwise. Yeah.
Like we touched on it in the podcast with Aidan O'Hara a couple of weeks, maybe months ago at this stage. Football is an odd one, like considering the money that's swashing around there, and you extrapolate the rate of failed tests in other sports with a lot less money to play with, And you just have to look at it with a somewhat skeptical eye that because of the money that's swashing around, there's a sense that it's too big to fail. And these major tournaments can't just come and go and everybody's squeaky clean, and that's that. You know, the testing should be as high as possible in football. There's no excuse for it not to be. Like I think I mentioned at the time, like I'm a big boxing fan, and the excuse is, you know, the money, like it's not centralized. Like governing bodies they're just that in name. Like they don't really care about the sanctity or there's no overlord or there's no one like cracking the whip in that regard. Whereas in football, there's no excuse for that. Like I just find it staggering that this isn't more regular, to be honest.
Yeah. It's always had a fairly relaxed approach, I think, to doping, albeit in amidst really high-profile cases. Pep Guardiola, you know, one of the biggest names in football, Edgar Davids, was it earlier this year? I think it was earlier this year. It's hard to keep track of time. But Gary Neville effectively came out and said on the overlap, I mean, that Juventus team in the 90s, something was off. Yeah. Coming off the pitch against those guys, something was off. And Keane was like, yeah, there were one or two matches where you were walking off and they seem not to have broken a sweat. So it's kind of accepted. I mean, I don't even think there's no like sense of, my God, this is what?
That's what I mean.
Can't believe it. And yet, as you say, the testing doesn't scream total rigor either.
It's too big to fail. There's too much money at stake. If, like smaller sports, quote unquote, are picked on. Like other sports are just turning a blind eye. Invariably, the biggest ones. Yeah. Like the NFL has a very relaxed approach to doping as well. Like people are just routinely given 4-week bans for an adverse finding. And like that's a failed, like you took a performance enhancing drug and you get a 4-week ban essentially. Yeah. You know, that's their relationship with it. They're like, oh, it's definitely happening. Slap on the wrist, move on.
Wouldn't be shocked if that NFL attitude starts to become more common across sport. Because it's I mean, we were talking about the tennis a while back, football here, just the sums of money involved. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a kind of an acceptance this is prevalent and it's a more lenient attitude to bans. Because it is what it is. It is kind of wild when maybe over here there's big discussions, is someone on drugs or what's happened, and it's a huge story, and rightfully so. But then you do flick on the NFL that same evening and it's like Julian Edelman's back after adverse finding, he's had to serve a small ban. Meanwhile, Tom Brady's hamstring injury's cleared up. It's like that kind of a thing.
Meanwhile, top story, Marshawn Lynch won't speak to us. Like, you know, forget about everything.
But I wouldn't be surprised if that becomes the more prevalent culture.
No, but isn't it interesting, because over here, I think we might have got an email to this effect as well, where it was like, why does no one's ever just admitting that they did it? Like, it's contamination. You know, there's always bogged down in red tape and like drag it through the legal process.
Well, I suppose
in the NFL, they're like, okay, you got me.
Are you saying this? It's a more mature?
No, but it's
attitude?
Like they're given a 4-week ban and they're more willing to be like, okay, fair enough, you got me. Yeah. Whereas with this, it's like you're looking down the barrel of a lifetime ban.
4 years.
So you're always well, yeah. I'm not saying this specific. I mean, it varies sport to sport, but in this part of the world, it's going to be lengthy. It's career altering.
Yeah.
Whereas in American football, some of the greatest players of all time have some of this stuff hanging around them and have great careers. You know, went on and won Super Bowls.
But the substance is career altering as well. Like it will have an effect for the rest of your career, a lot of them. Yeah. And the NFL has accepted that this is part of the culture. If you give a 4-week ban or whatever it is, that's like, you know, that's like me hitting somebody with an elbow and you're out for a few weeks, and it's not part of the rules, but you're accepted in the game if you do it.
Yes, you're not a pariah.
No.
Whereas I still think the prevalence of drug taking in football is obviously difficult to pin down. None of us can give a guesstimate at a percentage, but you would say certainly in Mudryk's case, in the same way that, to be fair, Guardiola, Davids, others, it is always associated with them. There is a degree of pariah status to it. And
even I think you were touching on it there, Ronan, like if you look at some runners that you'd follow on social media, just the imposition of them getting tested at these random times constantly, you know, they'll post about it because it's annoying for them, especially if they are clean. But that doesn't seem to be the case as much in football.
So, other things going on very quickly. Wolves have moved reasonably speedily to replace Gary O'Neill. So Victor Pereira is their new manager, never managed in the Premier League before. He's currently in Saudi Arabia. He has won league titles in 3 countries, twice in his 2 years at Porto. Won the Greek League with Olympiacos, won the Chinese Super League in 2018. So that was 12, 13, 15, 18. That was 4 league titles in 6 years. And now he's in Saudi Arabia. So he's the Wolves manager. R9, Ronaldo is running for president of the Brazilian FA. He wants to recover the prestige of the national team. They haven't made it past a quarter-final since 2002. Kind of a mad stat. They're the Ireland of international
They love that.
World Cups. And then in what is just, I suppose, the most logical step, Conor McGregor has announced a return to combat. He's going into the boxing ring to fight Logan Paul in an exhibition in India. I will then seek my return to the octagon, he has said on X. This is not Jake Paul who beat Mike Tyson. This is the brother, Logan.
I was saying to Conan earlier, and I can't believe I'm going to say this sentence, but Jake Paul's actually a better boxer than Logan Paul.
Yeah.
Jake, who beat Mike, is better than Logan.
Yeah.
Who'll fight Conor.
But Logan's bigger.
Okay.
So it's interesting.
Yeah, when I told Ronan the story earlier, he wanted to establish which brother it was.
It's
to see
very
how,
hard to-
how big the story really was.
Yeah, I don't know if you're going to dwell on the Wolves story. I just wanted to make a quick point on that. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was at the game the other day against Ipswich, and people were like aghast. Oh, is he being linked with this job? Like Solskjaer getting the Wolves job? What has he done to deserve this? Why is Solskjaer not a candidate for the Wolves job?
I know a lot of people would agree with you.
2 back-to-back Champions League finishes with Manchester United, and meanwhile Frank Lampard can't walk out of a room without getting offered a job. And what did he do?
Solskjaer hasn't won a title in over a decade is the only thing they put there. Like when he went back to Molde after his Cardiff experience, he didn't win, then he went to United.
Yeah, but I just think people guffawing at the notion that he might get a low Premier League job. Meanwhile, Frank Lampard, who's a tenth of the manager that Solskjaer is getting job offers left, right, and centre.
No, fair point. He shouldn't.
And Steven Gerrard,
But he shouldn't be a laughing stock, Solskjaer.
I think there's somewhere in between. The truth is somewhere in the middle, because there's a reason why these managers are getting hounded out of United. Like, we can't say they qualify for Champions League. He came second. And I know with time you're looking at it being like, oh geez, that nobody else did anything with that United team. But who else was there? It was Mourinho was finished. Ten Hag, we don't even know where he's at in the managerial ranks.
Yeah, but if Mourinho or Ten Hag or Van Gaal were linked with the Wolves job, they wouldn't be like, what? That's a joke.
Yeah, that's a fair point. But Solskjaer doesn't have the same experience as a Mourinho anyway.
He doesn't.
But even what job should he be going for? Port Vale, or what? Where is his level? Like, the man he beat Pep Guardiola 3 times. Like,
yeah, he was offered a Villa job on stage as well.
No, you're right. You're right to defend him.
No, I just think it's bizarre.
Okay.
Whatever.
It's
Christmas.
Always a sure sign to move on.
It's Christmas.
By the way, so I was just finishing up before you dragged me back to
Sorry about that.
Wolves, for God's sake. McGregor and Paul have been jibing on social media. August last year, he said he would slap the nose off him. McGregor said that. I'd like to see him attempt to slap the nose off my face, Paul responded. So, that's going to be a great event, a great sporting event in India upcoming.
It says a lot that Solskjaer got us going more.
Yeah, I know. There's just a sense of, I even feel, should I have mentioned that? Is that even sport? I don't know. You can't move at the moment, but for another rugby contract being handed out to somebody. James Ryan, just today, the latest. We've had 4 in 2 days. So James Ryan, 3-year deal, takes him past the next World Cup to 2028. Bundy Aki yesterday, or this morning rather, goes to 2026. And then the 2 yesterday were Porter and Furlong, both going to the next World Cup, 2027. So they all have central contracts. That's 4 central contracts. There aren't many central contracts now. Caelan Doris has one to 27. The only Munster player to have one is
Peter O'Mahony.
Up until this year, yes, but
That's what
no longer.
Oh, I don't know. Tadhg
Tadhg, correct. Yeah. Robbie Henshaw. There's going to be another. Robbie Henshaw's contract up at the end of this season. Would think announcement imminent. Gary Ringrose the same up until the end of this season. Ian Henderson, think he might be in trouble. They're really trying to kind of skew back on the number of central contracts. He's up until the end of this season, as is Jameson Gibson-Park. And then you have Van der Fleer, Hugo Keenan and Dan Sheehan up until 2026. And that's the totality of central contracts. So really, you've one Munster, in Tadhg Byrne, and you've one Ulster in Ian Henderson, and the rest are all Leinster players. The word seems to be Jack Crowley and Matt Hansen will get central contracts. So IRFU doing lots of business at the moment. Is anyone going to watch the showdown this evening? This is one of those instances where tomorrow, when a lot of people may listen to this as they trek into work, Rory and Scotty Scheffler versus Brooks and Bryson on the showdown will have happened. But I somehow don't think this, this will be dated terribly, because who cares? So they were warming up yesterday. This sort of went semi-viral. The audio quality is not good here. You're going to hear Rory mentioning how he's looking. He'd like a crack at Bryson because of what happened at the US Open, and Bryson comes back with a fairly harsh point, and it's so harsh everyone just kind of does that whoa, and Rory struggles to kind of know what to say. One of those moments. Have a listen.
I'd like to go up against Bryson to try to get him back to what he did to me at the US Open.
To be fair, you kind of did it to yourself.
Wow! Oh my God!
Sounds like Brooks.
Yeah, I don't really know where it goes.
It's Rory saying, I don't really know where to go from there. So Bryson said, you kind of did it to yourself, is the line. And the general reaction, I think, over here was, well, it's a pretty good line.
Yeah, just don't say it in public.
Yeah, classy. The winner will get $10 million in cryptocurrency.
Is this not beneath Rory McIlroy now? I thought, correct me if I'm wrong here, when the whole live thing went down, was he not like a little bit holier than thou? Like, I'm not interacting with this stuff at all.
A little bit.
And now he's like...
Well, he's certainly preaching reconciliation over the last year or so. Like, there's a degree of, I still hate live, but let's just fix golf and put golf back together. So that's kind of been a theme he's been fairly consistent on for guts the last year.
So this is a 10 million crypto olive branch.
Something like that. It's on in Las Vegas. I don't know what the interest levels are. They've tried to do this a lot in the last couple of years. It kicked off with Mickelson Woods.
Yeah, remember that.
And that garnered the most attention, and they were mic'd up. And there was such, that was real excitement. And people thought, God, they're mic'd up. This is just going to be amazing. And then, of course, in Woods, who's fairly taciturn, there was not much interaction. And it was a really long, several hours of very little talk. Yeah. And then they tried to jazz it up with Peyton Manning and Tom Brady involved with Woods and Mickelson. And that gave Mickelson other people to talk to. And then Woods kind of occasionally chipped in, but not really. Then they did one with Woods, McIlroy, Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth. Would you guys even remember that?
Was there a Tom Brady one as well?
Yeah, there's been about 3 Tom Brady's ones. Ones.
Charles Barkley's involved.
He's on commentary.
So there's a bit of I can see what they're going for. They're trying to...
Yeah. Well, this is one of the first ones in a while that's just golfers. And they have been a bit of a struggle, entertainment-wise, generally. There was one okay one with Spieth and Thomas, McIlroy and Woods. McIlroy was very subdued in that one for some reason. Not sure why.
And what do you think of them?
Oh, I have no interest.
No interest?
No.
They're not really a live event. That would be the sort of thing that would be really cool.
It is live, though.
No, but I mean, as an edited package afterwards, it would work really nicely. BT used to do further, before it was TNT.
Sorry, I know, as in, it shouldn't be live. It should be polished up.
Yeah, the concept isn't for live TV, I wouldn't have thought. BT used to put out these great, 8-9 minute packages. I forget what you call it, something like pitch side or off mic or something like that, but it was just a colour around the big game at the weekend that they were covering, and then it would just show you players walking in, shaking hands, security guard, an old player coming back to his old club, pitch side stuff, just all the sort of bits that you don't really get to see in the full coverage. And it was nice, but you knew the full story that you watched live before that.
I think when I say I have no interest, I'll absolutely watch it. But I wouldn't have high hopes for it. I just think they need to be produced a little bit better. Left to their own devices, they don't tend to take off. You need someone funny, actually. Bryson may be the person that can fulfill the role. I was going to say they need somebody who can prompt, who can kind of say, Phil, what are you thinking here with this shot? When Mickelson's asked, he'll give, if you're a golf nerd and you really find it all terribly interesting, different shots out of different lies and insight from Mickelson in real time, it's actually really brilliant. And where that actually worked was not when he just played with Woods, because that was just two people ignoring each other, but when he was paired up with Brady and Manning with Woods, because they would say, Phil, how do I play this shot? And he'd come over and say, well, look, see the way the grass is into you? You're going to have to come down steep into that ball. here's why. You're going to open out the blade. This is how I would play it. I'd lock the wrist and I'd do it that. And if you're a golf fan and then the shot happens, it kind of works. Whereas when it's just the golfers, Scotty, how are you playing this shot here? You can't expect Rory McIlroy to ask. So it often just kind of never catches on. But Bryson has had his YouTube channel for the last 18 months, 2 years. He's had Donald Trump on it, plays around with them, with different guests. And he's actually got quite good at quote unquote content. So maybe somewhere in there he might generate something. But if he doesn't, it lacks somebody to prompt them. Like they need, I don't know, they get to the tee box and they get a talking point on a card and they just have to go down that avenue, or they need a presenter on there with them who can prompt them. Some of the things they do are quite good. Like they often will have microphones in their ear and they can go back and forth with Charles Barkley.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking
and
of.
the other commentators. And that's good. The Brady moment you're thinking of is when Barkley was like, not a chance he hits this. Not a chance he hits a good shot here. And Brady stands up and it's one of the few good shots he hit that day. Yeah. And he, what was that, Charles? Well, you know, I'm not... But listen, it's frivolous and everything, but it was a fun moment.
That's nice.
So you know what? From a how do you make these shows work? Production point of view, how does golf kind of access the 21st century? I might watch it almost through that prism as opposed to hanging on the every word of Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah, but they wouldn't keep doing them if they weren't serving a purpose. Like they obviously, there's a value to seeing in it.
I don't know. What
or they would have just dumped it.
I don't know what the purpose is. They can't be making. They're not doing huge figures.
Really?
I don't think so.
Well, it's kind of embarrassing to keep doing them if they're not doing well, because they're obviously giving a lot of money away
in crypto.
Yeah,
which is sky high again, isn't it?
Oh, look, I can't keep up.
I think it is.
I wouldn't be sitting here if I could understand crypto, Jim.
I think Donald's return to power has been very good for crypto. So that's on tonight, Las Vegas, 11 p.m. Irish time. Not sure what channel, or else it's already happened and you're listening to this and, you know, go onto YouTube and you'll get the gist.
Not sure what channel.
You get the gist. There was a piece in The Guardian which was pretty interesting, I thought, by Matt Hughes. By the way, a couple of emails in. People seem to enjoy the FIFA podcast we did last week. And we'll try and do a few more in that style. If it doesn't break us. Paul was here till about 7 o'clock trying to edit the thing together. But there'll obviously be, I think, lots of stories like this over the next decade. This one centres around alcohol. So FIFA have declined to comment publicly, but senior sources have let it be known, says Matt Hughes in The Guardian, there is absolutely no chance, no question of beer or alcohol being sold at matches. So alcohol in Saudi Arabia was banned in 1952, and it's still very strictly enforced in Saudi Arabia. I again, you know, ignorance. I had sort of been operating under the illusion that you go to like Dubai or kind of that Qatar, even to an extent, and if you stay in some 5-star hotel, you can in the penthouse, there's beer to be had, or drink to be had, or liquor, but not so in Saudi Arabia. It's much stricter than the other countries in that part of the world. So Matt was reporting, since January of this year, one shop in Riyadh has opened up and sells alcohol, but it will only sell them to non-Muslim diplomats, and it's very strictly controlled, quotas, IDs, all that kind of thing. And if you're wondering, is that a first step towards legalization? The first shop opening in January, it's the opposite. It's actually been opened because there is illegal selling of alcohol by diplomats, weirdly, who are smuggling it in and making a few quid on the side. So the diplomats are smuggling in spirits, and so they've opened one alcohol shop in Riyadh, but it's very strictly enforced. He says Saudi Arabia, a far more conservative country than Qatar, where Doha contains countless pubs, or several pubs rather, and alcohol sales are permitted in upmarket hotels. So Riyadh has one shop, but that's going to be the extent of it. And FIFA, he reminds us, they learned the lessons from the 22 World Cup. I'd forgotten this, where they pressured Qatar into saying, okay, beer at stadiums, we'll do that. And then you remember 2 days before the tournament, the Al Thani family, the ruling family, said, actually, you think that you're in control of this. You're not. Yeah. We're in control of you. Alcohol sales not happening after all. And so FIFA had to spend £40 million in compensation. Budweiser kegs removed from stadiums. So FIFA are not even going to, I think, push it, is the sense from this article with Saudi Arabia. It's just not going to happen. So it's the beginnings of that one.
Yeah, and that was a big game of poker, really, wasn't it, from Qatar, who just knew, like, well, you still want your tournament to go ahead, so I assume you're going to go along with this.
Yeah.
And FIFA did go along with it. And it's mad, you know, I hope in Saudi Arabia they have more of a contingency plan, though, because some of the stories coming out of Qatar was that there wasn't a lot of water on sale, like any liquids at the stadium, and obviously how hot it was at the time. And yeah, so you'd like to think that they'd have some sort of amenities for people. They had one fan zone, I think, in Qatar that was allowing alcohol.
Yeah.
So it's obviously a bit different in that country. It's going to be a lot more strict, Saudi, but it's a long lead-in this thing.
Oh, it's going to be a long lead-in. One beer at that fan zone, that one fan zone in Qatar that sold Budweiser, $15.
Wow.
I'll take 2. said everybody in the fan zone.
It's like Temple Bar.
Yeah. Hey. Kelly Cates, against Ronan Mullen's advice, has moved from Sky Sports to Match of the Day.
Yeah, who needs an agent?
RichardKeys.com was obviously the place to go. Congrats, Kelly. He just is so good, Keys. So, I mean, his opening, he covers different things in football. His opening sentence was, it was Benjamin Franklin who said nothing is certain except death and taxes. I've reworked that famous phrase.
No better man.
What an idea.
He says nothing except that Russell Martin was going to get the sack is opening.
He also said, good on Gary O'Neill leaving Bournemouth to take a big job at Wolves, and look, Bournemouth are floundering without him. And meanwhile, Bournemouth are flying without him, and he's sacked. Yeah.
Did he say they're floundering?
He said that when Gary O'Neill left.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Back at the time. So yeah, we can all play that game, Richard.
Anyway, to the point, Kelly Cates. So, I'm surprised she's making the move. There's nothing like presenting live football. I would never have made that decision. Highlights shows are deadly dull. I'm not sure it will survive very much longer. Eventually, Grandstand died for similar reasons, the march of time. So that was your take as well, wasn't it? Do not leave Sky Sports. Do not leave live football, the vibrancy.
Yeah, exactly.
For staid
surprised
match of the day.
I'm not even faux surprised. I'm actually surprised. Like, I think I was saying it's visibility. Like that, take the Roy Keane, Kyle Walker clip from the other day. Kelly Cates maneuvered that so adeptly. Like, she was like, that should have been a red card, Roy. Brilliant. And like, no better line to just, it was like lighting a match. It was just brilliant.
Yeah. A red card was never on the menu in the first place.
No, but she was saying, I think she was trying to get at the Roy Keane thought Walker should have been sent off for being such a dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when I say visibility, you had said, the viewership on Match of the Day is massive. I'm like, I 100% take that point, and like, I'm sure she'll get gigs around the Olympics and the World Cup and stuff.
I do,
but the visibility in 2024 is different, you know?
Yeah.
It's not just about eyeballs on terrestrial TV. It's like, everybody knows her from Sky. Like, she's worked elsewhere, and she's actually worked for BBC before and done well there.
Still does 5 Live, I think, quite a bit.
But now she's like, and she's excellent as well, so she's going to be great on Match of the Day.
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting move. I kind of thought this could be the last of its kind. I think in 10 years, if someone's offered a similar, if Match of the Day is still around in the format that we know it, I think I can't see anyone leaving the behemoth of Sky Sports. But, you know, what do you think?
I agree. I also think it's a more interesting job doing the live football, doing live Sky Sports, big games, everybody watching. You've got like more interesting pundits. When's the last time Match of the Day went viral? And I know viral is not the definition, by the way, of quality.
I don't either.
I don't mean bombastic viral. I just mean, God, did you see what they said? They had a really interesting chat. The point being, there's no room for interesting chat. Like, that's what Keys is getting at. There is a deadness to a highlight show. They're very pressed for time. So yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's a far more interesting, fun, you go into work not knowing what's going to happen kind of a job, and the visibility, whether that's important to her or not, I don't know. But the visibility aspect is true. But like, I've done we do Six Nations highlight shows at times, and it is just a far more rehearsed. We have 8 minutes post the highlights package before the next ad break. So you do talk in advance of, well, what can we fit in there? You want to do something in the defence, grand. You want to do something on the attack, grand. You want to do something on that red card, grand. That'll be about 8 minutes. Whereas obviously you don't know Kyle Walker's going to have this moment with Hoyland, and that's the big thing. So it's more interesting. So yeah, I think for all of those reasons, you should stay with the vibrancy live football. And if, you know, there's no doubt Match of the Day is dying. We don't know how quickly, but it's going in the wrong way. Whereas live football is only going in the opposite direction, I would think.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. The only thing may be, I don't know, and wouldn't like to speculate actually, but in terms of work-life balance, maybe there is something quite nice about, well, I'm sure if Gary Lineker's got, was on 1.3 million, and I know she's in rotation now with Mark Chapman and Gabby Logan, you've got to think it's several £100,000. So it's good money, and it's very dependable organisation long-term. The Euros and the World Cup may be attractive, but just instead of like, I'm in London this day and Liverpool that day and I'm up in Newcastle the next day, it's just like, well, I head to Salford.
Yeah.
And I ate the comforts of a studio, etc. Maybe just that pace of life was more attractive. That would be in the pro column for lots of people.
It's a good point. Like, and the only reason I make the visibility argument is because I'm sure
you're fame hungry. That's the you view this through the prism of numbers.
Clearly fame hungry.
Why can I get clicks here?
No, it's just I presume when she was teasing it out, or her agents were like, that was a big part of it. You're the face of football. You're on the BBC. Like that.
Yeah.
And this X amount of people are going to be watching you. So I'm sure that was a big card that they played. So I would argue that, as I made the point earlier, that visibility doesn't necessarily translate in 2024 the way it would have done.
It will, and it'd be interesting to see. Like, I'm sure Mark Chapman, Gabby Logan and Kelly Cates are all saying, I'll do the England World Cup semi-final.
Yeah.
So who comes out on top there? So maybe in her contract she will follow Gary Lineker as I'm doing the England matches at World Cups and European Championships. And they're big national
100%
moments to be part of.
Interestingly though, and I agree with you, and I think the Sky thing's way more exciting. Sky's probably such a hustle culture though that's tiring, whereas like the BBC might seem a bit nicer for work-life balance. But at the BBC, at Match of the Day, the presenter is more famous than the pundits. It feels like there's obviously a rotation of presenters at Sky Sports as well. And we know that Kelly's brilliant and Dave Jones is brilliant, but it doesn't seem to matter as much. It's always like which pundit's on, whereas all we talk about is who's presenting Match of the Day. And maybe there's something exciting about that.
Potentially damning of their Match of the Day pundits.
Maybe, because when you see Stephen Warnock there, it's like, and he's on Sky as well.
Yeah, they Theo Walcott and Ashley Williams the other night. It's just lacked pop,
And I can't believe Match of the Day hasn't really learned though from the like Monday Night Football. I was 4 clips into Thierry Henry last night. I'm not lying. I checked.
Don't get Ronan started.
Before I checked which game was on, I didn't know who was playing. I was just watching all these Thierry Henry pieces of analysis because they do that 7 to 8 hour beforehand.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is brilliant stuff. Yeah, I'm right with Ronan on this. This is great. Slag and Jack Grealish, sign me up. Everything that I wanted was there. Brilliant analysis. Then it was like, actually, who's playing tonight? And it doesn't matter.
Look, we're not going to solve that issue.
But if you want to get in touch, I've got some suggestions.
So Usyk, Tyson Fury, Saturday, Riyadh, second fight in 7 months. Just one thing I wanted to check with you, because my memory is starting to play tricks, or else maybe Tyson Fury is just not telling the truth here. He's been talking, obviously, in the last 24 hours. They're ramping up now. He was asked if he's going to change his approach from the first fight. He said, I won't change anything. Why would I when I control the fight for about 80% of it? Split decision defeat. And obviously Fury was given a standing count, saved by the bell in the 9th round. Usyk really went after him. He said he's watched the fight back 100 times. It was my best performance in the last 5 years, probably even more. Before the 9th round, I boxed unbelievably. I fought Usyk. I thought he did good as well, but that's the best I've ever seen Usyk box. But I thought I was unbelievable. I thought Usyk was like fairly comfortable winner. No,
in the end he was.
Was it closer?
Ebbed and flowed a bit.
I need to watch it back.
Like George Groves made the same point that this is Tyson Fury's best ever performance.
Okay.
But he still thought Usyk won.
Okay.
So that's how good Usyk was on the night.
My memory of it was Fury almost like distracted and lots of showboating and messing around.
Yeah, you're trying to get inside the head of this guy and it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Like Usyk is a phenomenon.
Yeah.
And it's so like easier said than done with this guy. It's well chronicled and we'll probably get into more detail on it through the week, but smaller frame, career cruiserweight, came up the heavyweight division, not a shot to nothing, but he's already undisputed cruiserweight champion. Let's see how I get on at heavyweight. And he's cleaned out that division as well. And Fury's such a big man, like the size discrepancy is not just like marked, it's huge. And he wasn't able to make it a factor in the fight at all. So his best chance of making the narrative a little different on Saturday is to somehow make it a factor. But Usyk's just too clever. Like, boxing IQ is off the charts. And there were points in that fight, as you might recall, that Usyk's walking Fury down. Like, he's the physical one. Like, Fury's running away from this guy. And
he did, Fury, by the way, not to misrepresent him, he did acknowledge in the last 24 hours that he didn't actually feel during the fight that he was able to knock out Usyk.
So I'm really looking forward to it. It's
how much am I paying for this fight these days?
This is another thing about modern broadcasting. Like, it's
don't pay for it.
No. I was gonna. Well, that's another conversation. No, do you remember? We would have talked years ago that, he's with this network, he's with that network. They're not going to fight each other because they're with different. He's with Sky, he's with BT, he's with HBO, he's with Showtime. Saudi Arabia have basically come in and like, don't worry about all that. We'll show it on all the different stations. They'll all get their piece of the pie and we'll make the fights happen. So you can watch it on BT, you can watch it on Sky, you can watch it on DAZN.
Okay.
And the price point's not as crazy as it used to be. It's still like...
There's no, like, I can sign up to DAZN for... a free trial. And
no, they've nipped that in the bud.
Okay, I did that 1 year. It was great.
Yeah,
for some fight. Okay, so what am I talking? Am I done €30?
I think it's probably like €24, something like that.
Okay,
they always trick me with the pounds and euros. Like, 24, 30, 30. You got me there.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those fights you have to see, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's going to be great.
Okay. Fellas, that was nice to do. When's the last time three of us did a bit of bits and bobs?
I think it was we were
pre-Munich.
Yeah, we were having a little chat around the prospective valuations of certain Irish footballers.
Oh, yes.
So I don't quite...
Kelleher Gate.
As it's come to be known. Talbot Towers.
All right, that was bits and bobs for your Tuesday. We'll have called Dennehy in tomorrow. Maybe another bits and bobs tomorrow as well, because why not? And in your feed already as of yesterday, good football chat, good rugby chat on the weekend that was. So that's about us. We're in the midst at the moment of recording some of our Christmas episodes. So all go here. Thanks, fellas.
Thank you.
Cheers, Joe.